You know who I once messed with and came to regret it?
Ooh.
Scott.
And Rand.
Hey! Hey, welcome to the show again, Scott.
It's a real pleasure to be here, sir.
Cool hat.
Yeah.
You and your hats.
Me and my hats, what can I say?
All right, what's our ending going to be for this one?
Let's do question everything.
All right.
And where I'm from, we do question everything. We finish the show only asking questions. So, is that something you'll hang around for? We have to hope.
Do it.
All right.
So, Texas.
Texas. Ever been there?
You know...
I know you changed planes in Houston. But
yeah. What's funny is I drove to St. George once, and I took a southern route through New Mexico. We drove across, like, the skinny part of Oklahoma, and we drove on this road that came, like, feet. Like, literally feet from the Texas border. So I could look to my left and see Texas, but I don't think the road actually crossed into Texas. That's the closest I've come to Texas. Sorry, guys. In Texas?
Well, because I had the hat on, we figured we'd chat a little bit about Texas today.
Yeah.
I did spend some time in Texas. I lived in Texas for about a year and a half. Or as my wife put it, we did 18 months' time in Texas.
She didn't like it?
Well, Texas is I'm going to tell you something you already know. It's massive. And there's just so many different parts to it. I've probably seen maybe a third of it. I've never been out to the far western part of it, El Paso and out that way.
I've seen 1/10,000.
He saw it out of his window for 20 minutes. But I lived for a while in basically the armpit of the state. And when I say that, if you actually look at Texas, the state of Louisiana comes right up against it. And Louisiana is a whole other country, but Texas is really something else. Right there, very swampy. It's right on the Gulf. I lived in a place called Port Arthur, Texas, part of the Beaumont, Port Arthur, Orange, Golden Triangle. The reason it was golden was because the air is always slightly brown because it was a refinery town. So life in Texas for us was interesting. I remember when I first moved there, I was going to work. We talked about the fact that I worked in radio.
Yes.
I'd just taken a job, and I'd never been to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving all day. I was moving down from Minnesota, of all places, in a Camaro that had no air conditioning, towing a trailer. Yeah. So, things were pretty good. In fact, I stopped in the Kansas City area overnight. Life was okay. And then the next day
And you hadn't been in Kansas City before that?
Well, I'd driven around it, but I didn't know where
lived there? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I pull into Texas, and you come over this, getting into the Golden Triangle. I was going to go down to where I was supposed to be, and I've been driving all day, and I'm exhausted, just totally wiped out. Driving a Camaro, windows down, because by now the temperatures are incredibly hot. I moved in like August. Perfect time to move to Texas, by the way. And I come over this ridge and start looking down into this bowl that is sort of the coastal towns of Beaumont, Port Arthur, and Orange. And I come in, and if you've ever been to a refinery town, when they're refining fuels of any kind, they have these big smokestacks that have fire coming off the top of them. They're burning off excess gases. So I'm driving along, I'm totally exhausted. I'm probably within about 10 miles of where I need to be. I'm over this rise, I'm down into it, and I look around, and all I see are these stacks with fire coming up. And it's hot and it's humid and the air smells bad. And my first reaction was, I'm moving to Hades. And it was difficult for me. I was doing the morning show on the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And in the morning I would get up, and I lived, of course, in an air-conditioned apartment. I'd get up, I'd walk to my car, but from here, maybe it was 30 feet to get to my car. By the time I got to my car, I was all bleh, because the air was so thick and it just smelled so bad. Plus, I'd be kind of tired because I was a little bit younger than this, and I wouldn't get enough rest. And then you're doing the morning show, you have to be getting up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So you can get to the radio station by, let's say, 5, and then go on the air at 6. So I was just exhausted, and I'd get this air would just smash into me. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, was the way Texas is different.
Yes.
They have an ad campaign they used to run many years ago. Texas, it's a whole nother country. And that's very true. If you ever go there, and you haven't been, but I can recommend it.
I'll go there someday.
People have a wonderful attitude about it. Texans have a real pride in their country. I said country, didn't I?
Ha!
That's because they believe that Texas probably could break away from the United States and do just fine.
Didn't they try to once?
Well, yeah, there's always been talk about secession and that sort of thing. They also get a little bit annoyed with other parts of the country. I'll give you an example.
Me too.
But not like Texans. First of all, if you ever go there to the Dairy Queen, they don't have Dairy Queens. They have Texas Dairy Queens. everywhere you go, it's Lone Star this, Lone Star that. There's Lone Star beer and everything else. And but one of the things that I found was funny. One of the guys who was a native Texan was sort of trying to break me in, and he was trying to teach me how to speak Texan. He mentioned that there was something that was really interesting about the petroleum industry. Of course, all the fuel oil and everything else usually comes through Texas and Oklahoma and that. He said the folks up in New England who heated their homes with fuel oil would get the oil at a cheaper price than you could buy it in Texas because it was like price protected. Texans were not happy about that. Oil came from their state, but it cost them more to buy than it did for the folks who were in Vermont.
Vermont.
They had bumper stickers that said, and I'm going to change one word just to make this a little more family friendly. The word I'm going to use is custards. But what the bumper sticker said was, let the custards freeze in the dark. They were not pleased with that. But Texas in general, kind, genial people, very, very nice. They always sort of look at you kind of funny, like, you're not from around here, are you, boy? And I wasn't. But for what's interesting is, I'll try to wrap this
No,
up.
you're good. Keep going. I love it.
I worked at a radio station there, and then I applied for a job in Wisconsin. And I had to fly up there over a weekend that I was not working. And when I got there, met the guys in Wisconsin, who they all sound like this, don't you know? We talked, everything was fine. I went back, and then they told me that they were going to hire me as the general manager of a radio station in western Wisconsin, which I was excited about. They told me later, after I'd been working there about 6 or 8 months, they said, you know, Scott, we almost didn't hire you because you had that heavy Texas accent.
Oh.
When you're there and everyone around you says darling and bud and everything else, you do start sounding that way. Have you found it that way?
You know, I don't think the accent's different in Portland, Oregon. Oh, I see what you're doing now, but
Yeah.
I don't think the accent's different in Portland than it is here. But
Is that true?
how would I know? It's
Have you ever been anywhere else?
not that would I have been somewhere else if I, say, went to another country?
That is the most awkward thing, isn't it?
Wouldn't you know?
Can you believe this guy?
Which is better, barbecue, Kansas City or Texas?
I don't think that's a fair question because any of our viewers in Texas would probably have me barbecued. If I gave the wrong answer, that wouldn't be a good idea, would it?
Would it indeed? We didn't do this ending very well. That's okay. That's part of the fun. Thank you for and it was mostly my fault. I didn't do it very well. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Comment below. If you're from Texas, how do you like it there? What do you think of our accents and his hat?
Good day.
And check out our website, rampantcomedy.com. Have a good one.
Take care, y'all.
Nice. That was a good episode.